Can we go back to why you think that the Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholic apologists have a clear edge on Protestants in general and Reformed folks in particular on the internet?
Part of it is just because there's way more of them. I've counted, there's about 50 really, really strong Eastern Orthodox apologists on YouTube. And it seems like every Orthodox person who converts immediately becomes a YouTube apologist. There are just so many of them that go very in depth on every single issue and quote tons of church fathers, tons of scholarship, tons of scripture, yes. And anytime any Protestant apologist, there's only like a few of them, but anytime any Protestant apologist does make content, there's like 20 Catholic and Orthodox apologists each ready to make a 4-hour long response to it, where they just pick apart every single point. So it really seems like Protestant apologists are outnumbered. It's like when I've asked like PCA or Nate Park pastors what to do about these apologists, they'll send me some lecture by R.C. Sproul from 2008 about why we believe in sola fide. Meanwhile, the Orthodox have like 3-hour-long live streams explaining how monergism is the same as the heresy of monoenergism, or explaining how Calvinism is Nestorian because it says Jesus was damned on the cross. And a lot of these caricatures like that, and maybe they're true, maybe they're not, who knows if we don't have people to respond to them.
Do you find it helpful to show that the Protestant reformers argued that they actually had the church fathers on their side?
I do argue that, and there are Protestants that argue that, but they always accuse us of quote mining. That's the phrase. Mm-hmm. They always say, oh, just because you can quote mine them out of context doesn't mean that they're actually on your side. And for every like one church father quote a Protestant apologist might bring up, there's like a bunch of apologists who will bring up like 50 church father quotes in response and will say, oh, well, these church fathers were like, they were just part of the Orthodox Church. They were just part of the Catholic Church. They believe in one true church, so you can't remove them from that context. So we try. And another thing is that there aren't good, like, trained, like, seminary-trained Reformed people who engage in debates. Like, most, actually educated Reformed folk just avoid those online debates, but online debates are actually how people learn stuff. So, like, a few years ago, I was sort of lured into a debate with this Orthodox personality, Jay Dyer. He's very smart. He went to Bonson Seminary, he used to be a sort of Calvinist, and has been debating Orthodoxy for, like, 20 years. And I was just like a 20-year-old YouTuber. I didn't know how to respond to his claims. And people said that because of my debate with him, they all converted to Orthodoxy. And I was like, you based your eternal decision on a debate between a trained apologist and a Minecraft YouTuber? Like, what if I lost a debate to an atheist? Would that make you convert to atheism? I've lost debates to atheists as well. I'm just not a great debater. But the thing is, even though I'm not a great debater, I was basically at that point the only Reformed debater. There weren't better Reformed debaters that I could defer people to. So it creates this perception that me, this uneducated Minecraft YouTube college student, is the best that Reformed Christianity has to offer. It's not. I've never been to seminary. I don't know what I'm talking about. But the people who have gone to seminary aren't making this accessible content, so that's the way it seems to everyone.
We need to be maybe less snobby about the internet and realize that that's where a lot of conversations happen and a lot of conversions.
I hate to say it, this is not a good thing, but Gen Z does not read books. I mean, some of them do. Most of them get their ideologies from the internet and from like YouTube, maybe like TikTok or Instagram. So sometimes I've talked to like some, I don't know, 30 or something year old Reformed seminarians. They'll be like, we got to make apologetics. And they'll be like, oh, I have this blog. It's like, that's not where people are getting their information. You need accessible YouTube content with accessible YouTube personalities. So like an example of types of things that would help is like when a prominent Catholic or Orthodox YouTuber makes a video attacking Protestantism, to have some trained Reformed seminarians who can analyze that video, break it down, and explain why what they said is wrong. Father Josiah Trenum, in his book Rock and Sand, that's a very good summary of the standard Orthodox critiques of Protestantism. It'd be helpful, like I mentioned to Adriel Sanchez, it'd be helpful to like go through Rock and Sand and explain Father Josiah's criticisms of Reformed theology.
And he's another example of someone who was Reformed and then went Orthodox. I had a couple of meals with him, and
Yeah.
very, very generous guy. And that's the thing. A lot of the folks we're talking about here are not just sort of angry polemicists. They're really generous folks with whom you can have a good conversation.
Yeah. Like Trent Horn, very, very nice guy. I met with him. But if we don't have a response to their arguments, then we're still not going to get these young men who are interested in tradition into our churches. And that's what we want. So we still have to respond, even if they are nice.